Crispy, the 1 versus 1 will be taking place, and now we look towards who will be able to take this one. Of course, the bomb is ticking away. I don't know if there's... Well, no, there isn't a kit in play. We know there was just Kevlar on the board. So MBK, he does not have the time on his hands. And, well, now we look towards Crispy. He's not going to be able to take this overall. I think he may just have enough time as well to actually defuse it.
Yeah, I think he's almost certainly got the time. If it was, you know, a couple more seconds abort here and there, then maybe there was an opportunity for the T-side to take that. But once it got down to that 1 versus 1, MBK is a player that can hit shots like that. And it did come down to a pretty intense one, but at the same time, the T-side, they didn't they really had an opportunity to play for time, which you have to buy more seconds, frankly. But unfortunately, it doesn't quite take place. And we get the response at the end of the day, which is MV getting themselves a piss down from there, looking to now get on towards their second. Really shouldn't be seeing anything too crazy, because of course the T-side, they did get the bomb down, which basically prompts the thought process of, well, it's not worth it for them to buy, so they will just go for these light pistols here and there. Of course, we do see Searson just invest in a bit of Kevlar, but overall, for ENVYUS, this is just them, you know, making some money.
Yeah, no, Kenny literally just nades is quite an intriguing one to actually look into, but at the same time, on the other side of things, there really isn't too much to play with. Of course, you mentioned the bomb went down, so not really surprising. But this short position, well, you have to remember, Kenny is literally holding it with the P250. So this could be ideal for them to get that secondary bomb plant. And then, well, you never know. And, well, double running boost to get themselves further on. The Molotov will be there to try and slow them down. But Keeve is already passed, and Crispy's going to find that first kill. Now, this should be a guarantee of a bomb plant, make things a lot easier.
It might be easier, but still going to be respectively tough, as Frank will be found by Apex, just looking to make himself some money as things will swing on in, and finds himself too. Opens it up towards the third, happy to mop up Keeve, and it will just be TZN left over towards Short to try and pull through the final crumbs, which can ultimately lead him to his grave. So it is going to be that money-making round. They do get at least one loss to be kind of handed to this French side, which...
P250 armor, though.
Yeah, it's not necessarily going to be impactful. You can argue the armor maybe had something, but in the grand scheme of things, Kenny, he's not really going to notice a loss. He gets to buy up the AWP. You may be able to argue that he wouldn't be glass cannon, but at the same time, I'm not overly that bothered about having a glass cannon AWP in this scenario.
I am only bothered by it because Apex is sitting on $5,000.
Yeah, I can argue that point.
That's the only reason it bothers me. He got 4 kills in the last round. He could have comfortably bought up an AWP for Kenny and even been dropped the rifle or something, or just had Kenny with the extra cash, which isn't a problem. Either way, I'm going to have to cut myself short as it's an aggressive push coming out from attacks onto this B site. We get to see if things have changed, and while so far so good, they managed to find a couple of kills. This time it's MBK playing that solo role onto the side with Sixer as the rotational mid player. They've switched things up, and well, this time they have got away with a man advantage. We look towards Crispy, getting that bomb down for the 3rd round in a row, and we look towards whether or not these CTs will be able to actually retake this. You have to remember, Apex doesn't have a huge amount, but he's going to be able to switch out for the AK as well. This is making things bad to worse, and Crispy, he's now in a 1 versus 4. Managed to get back through the smoke. Now, this is an interesting position to hold. He could actually get back in from behind and do a hell of a lot of damage. It seems like Kenny may have had the idea that they... he's that confident on trying to make some money that he's just going to... Nah, screw the AK. Don't need the AK. Going to play with the MP9, and well, $1,200 made. I can see his case for that one, already hitting that sort of 10K marker, Kenny. Well, that classic short position, I don't think he's going to have any trouble around that sort of standpoint. And now, just KZ left. Well, easy stuff in the end for Envy. They have a flawless round, and now we come back on the bye. Well, AWP is expected onto Keeve. 3 assists so far, not hoping for any more of those. And, well, this is sort of the thing that we love about Keeve. He doesn't buy the armor to start off that initial pick, just in case he gets hit. He dies anyway, because they have to peek through the doors. The chance of you getting wall banged on the other side is pretty slim, and, well, if the standpoint doesn't happen earlier on, he just buys the armor a little bit later.
So there's an interesting prospect of what we're seeing over towards this B shot, though, as it looks like we are seeing just a double push, piece of aggression coming in from ENVYUS, as they will be gaining themselves so much map control. And kind of the worrying thing is, all attacks, they think they have control, but in reality it's all just a bit of a ruse. A Sixer will claim the life of KZY, and that illusion is beginning to be a bit of a sting in the side. It's the man advantage for ENVYUS, but not only that, they've given up tunnels, but the fear is still there for all attacks to even think about retaking it, which presents such a difficult predicament for them in terms of deciding where they want to go, which inevitably says, okay, well, here's the box, and the box is the A site, and so far it seems like ultimate attacks only really want to be heading around this kind of long and short section of the map.
Yeah, it's still got a minute 5 to play with, so not too much trouble in that standpoint. Sixer finding the early frag has definitely helped out, and it seems like in terms of his spot towards middle, so far so good. Hasn't had too many problems. Definitely having MBK over towards the site itself as well seems to be an improvement, and And maybe that's one of the reasons, just playing off each other. Seems to be working quite well. Of course, early days yet. We don't know how this will actually come off overall. Here we go, 6-up. He's going to have a lot of people coming his way relatively soon, although they do seem to be backing out. The bomb can still have the opportunity to go back the other way, but here we go. They have dedicated themselves back towards middle. 30 seconds less is not going to be a pincer movement. There's only one spot they can actually go towards. Sixer is good for one, but then he's done, and Crispy is there for the trade.
Looking to see what MBK can do. He's got to be the pinnacle factor in terms of just dropping them dead onto the site. And, well, why even highlight the play? He just drops them dead, goes for the back-to-back headshots, makes it work, and, well, the rest of the team just got Trumps all around him. And, well, that's basically Donald Trump right now. They are rich, happy for days, and, well, nothing for them to be worrying about in any way, shape, or form as alternate attacks not having the greatest start by a long shot.
Yeah, no, this has not been the sort of shining start that we were hoping to see from the German side. Apex back to his MP9 once again. Already hit that sort of 16k marker, but now he's just doing it for the fun of it. Kiev back to just a Tech 9. Of course, buying the AWP in the previous round has meant that he does have to skimp a little bit into this one, and it is looking problematic so far. Kenny will start off with the push towards long. Apex is going to be a freebie at least for KZ. Now they're going to pressure short as well. It looks like Happy has the back of Kenny, and they're trying to combine here to actually stop any form of aggression. And while Happy, he's spotted out two players, he knows exactly where they are. He actually sort of allows the death of Kenny by spotting their position. And this comes back to a 2 versus 2. Kiev has managed to retrieve an AWP as well. Searson will even peek out and grab one more. And now it is down to MBK. We talk about this guy in the sort of late round positions. He is going to go for this.
Yeah, the bomb will be thrown on over in a bit of a hilarious fashion, but it does get the job done. It does mean they're going to be going for the pump on. MBK going to be jumping down. He finds the headshot. The bomb will go down nonetheless. Kiev is over towards one with this AWP, but, well, Valvo, why you can scream those tears of unhappiness, but nonetheless, MBK, he's looking to make this one work and be going for those one-taps. Won't quite be able to connect it just yet as Kiev is going to be holding the angle. You look at where that bomb is planted. It is almost perfectly set up for Kiev, but the HP is just not looking pretty. The Molotov is going to land.
Smart.
This could burn him away. Keep on jumping.
So smart. So smart. That is just smooth. That is literally just
finesse.
He almost made that look just a little bit too easy. Like that was just so masterclass, pretty much. Did exactly what he needed to do. Finds both players in the 1 versus 2, and that is just a great stuff all around from MBK. 6-0. Money will take at least a little bit of a dent, and Kiev, again, is just going to wait a second to buy this Kevlar. Not going to find anything just yet. And well, now we see the push coming back onto the B site. This duo is going to be tested once again. It's MBK ready and waiting, and he misses the initial spray. Does get a second opportunity, though, and now he's just cleaning up shop. Finds himself 2 kills. It will be a quick trade, but it gives enough time for Happy to come back in and leave it down to just one man. Kiev spoke about this guy and the star potential. He's got to be careful. Kenny's going to be holding the angle, but misses the shot. In the meantime, Apex is actually going to be rotating away, and oh, Kiev missing the jumps, missing the nades. A lot of mistakes being made at the moment by Kiev, and I wonder if the pressure may be getting to him a little bit here. It seems almost just praying that somebody will push onto his position, but it seems like the CTs are well trained. They're not going to go for this until the bomb is actually down, and you can fake plant that as much as you like. Kiev is not going to bait anyone in until Apex right at the depths. The one time it seems like he's actually going to plant, and oh, that must hurt.
He just looks him dead in the face. That's the greatest part about that for me. He spent a good second just looking him dead in the face.
Hello,
and it was
darkness, my old friend.
It's that, or it's that kind of whole reasoning of at this point he knew.
He knew what?
You fill in the rest. You fill in the gaps.
No, sorry, I haven't heard that before. What did he know,
Yeah, you fill in the gaps. You create that.
What did he know, Ryan?
Create that storyline in your head. Narrative is going to be key, but right now I think for alternate attacks, I'm not sure whether it is crumbling under pressure. I kind of did try and elaborate at the start about Kiev and pressure. But I think a lot of this is just small mistakes from attacks building up to be almost a bit of a disappointing factor. For example, they tried to rush out onto the B site, but they were blocking each other in tunnels, which meant that their push was very segmented. Then they had these constant repeats from MBK over and over again. And it is just a lot of small mistakes that build up into kind of one huge blunder. And that seems to be the styling of every single round currently. They are going to try and make things work in this round, but they've got 3 Galils. And judging by how they've been playing so far, I'm not looking too confident. However, they are looking to take the short. And this is one of the first times we've really seen them actually try and put some proper pressure on towards short. Let's see what sort of take they've got. If they use their smokes properly in regards to the 3 that they have, there is an opportunity, because I do think that they have enough to do a relatively strong A execute. In comparison, if they screw them up and miss them, which
they're going to drop.
They've been missing a lot of utility. could work out. The drop is relative to the AWP, which will actually bear the reward, but Apex gets to freely respond.
Yeah, quick trades coming across the board, which do inevitably come with the T's with the advantage. Sixer and MBK. Or even just saying the last man's name is enough to put fear into the hearts of the T's. They've already lost a couple of clutches to this man, and he's going to try and do it once more. KZ over towards long. Not the most, well, usual, or I should say, for alternate attacks, but instead, 7-1 alternate attacks finally get themselves back on the board. The AWP is saved as well for Kyiv to play with. The only problem is they are going to be skimping into this round as well. And utility definitely has stepped up rapidly, but if they lose this round, they're straight back down. The only thing that does have to be mentioned, Envy, their economy, it was massive earlier on. It has been burnt to a crisp.
It certainly has been burnt, but I hate to be the naysayer. The biggest thing that I want to stress right now is just the possibility of a reset for alternate attacks, because that round was pretty much off the back of an individual play, backed up by one support flash, which just raises some questions in regards to how long and how much is this alternate attack side willing to repeat that, because we've seen some serious work from them in terms of kind of matches online and such, but in LAN, it's a new showing for them, and we've already seen some mistakes here and there pop out throughout this kind of earlier portion. Perhaps this is just them having a slow start and getting into things. Who knows? But I do think it's only fair just to kind of really stress on that point that right now all attacks, they are nowhere near out of the woods. They have to make this round work, and even a small mistake could just pretty much trash them out of this half.
Yeah, we've seen the CT side abandon long, fallen back to fairly passive positions, trying to take short in the meantime, but haven't gone too gun-ho in that essence. Molotov will be thrown out to slow down any push that the T's want to make, although there's still plenty of time to actually make their move. Giving up long control as well will give an opportunity to Kyiv, but you can see that Kenny is all but waiting to take this battle. He's going sheer aggressive, but in the meantime, the short push will come in. It's Tizian to find the trade frag. Kenny, he's had to switch his sights, but he will have the opportunity until KZ tears his head clean off. This leaves just two players left once again, the deadly duo of the previous round, to try and pull this one back. This time MBK does have himself an AWP, so there could be a positive or a negative depending on which way you look at it. In terms of retake, normally a negative, and well, in terms of the positions now, look at where Kyiv has gone. That is so dastardly. Just catches out MBK. Not today, Sonny Jim, and well, this leaves just Sixer left, and he will retreat.
That's certainly a smart player, but you say retreat, he's actually just going to be hunted down by Kyiv, who's holding the angle, pushes up, and pretty much just knows exactly where he's going to be coming from, which just allows it to be easy pickings. And alternate attacks doing what they really should be doing, proving me wrong. And
that's the confidence play I like from Kyiv as well. That's the first couple of kills he's got on the board.
That is exactly what Kyiv does in general. That's pretty much what we liked about Kyiv when we first saw him play in the online qualifiers, right? You loved it off the back that he was just kind of bouncing around the place. He was going aggressive, and in a sense of the word, he was kind of like a miniature Kenny S pre-nerf.
I would probably go further than towards the JW comparison, because it's more of a player like Kenny used to jump around angles, yes, but the thing that JW used to do a lot more was he'd be in positions where you would never expect him to be. And even if you were trying to predict where he would still be somewhere else. And that was the power of JW at the time. And then also he had the crazy flicks and could do things that pretty much nobody else could do with an AWP. And although that's a comparison that you don't want to make lightly, I do feel like Kyiv is one of those players that he's just very good at working out where players are going to be. You see it in the last round, and it's good to see it coming in the last. They've still got a lot to do to come back, and well, he's just going to be holding the angle. He has spotted Apex going past, so he will know that there's somebody there. Missing a few shots though, and well, they have spotted two players at least towards long. No idea what that flash was supposed to be. Eventually we'll get it down to a T, but Kenny is up close and personal, and well, there you go, gets a little bit overzealous going for the AWP, and Crispy will punish.
Looking to see, of course, what Apex can deliver, because he's actually just being this factor over towards long with this M4 in comparison to every other player on the CT side only being able to word pistols. So it certainly is a bit of an interesting concept that they have placed that M4 just to be this turret in terms of holding off that corridor from long. In the same regard, we are looking at what feels like a bit of a B hit coming in from the German side, which means from MBK...
I bet he's good for one at least. MBK with a dig. Surely he's good for one at least.
I feel like landing one is all well and good, and that might be great. But again, I'm going to go with the naysayer route and say it's one. It's not really going to have too much of an impact. He will spam on away, and well, can he even find one? As he is seemingly struggling, he's finding a whole lot of tags, and Well, he's proving
he
you wrong.
hits, what, 4 shots and
Hits
doesn't
4
get a
shots,
kill.
doesn't get a kill. A bit awkward, but 4 tags. That's something.
Yeah, a little bit of damage done. It's not going to be anything too crazy. It does mean now that if Apex hits 4 headshots, then sure, he's going to get 4 kills, but I don't think that's too likely, and where you can already see from the positions he's taking, they're just looking to save what they have. Now, Sixer really doesn't have anything to lose. Does look like they're trying to search for that AWP, but smartly it was actually thrown out of the map by the alternate attacks players. So although they don't keep the AWP for themselves, they don't give it over. And I think that's a much bigger factor in terms of Kenny getting a free AWP. You'd never want to let that happen. In terms of the exit positions, it doesn't look like anybody's really attempting to challenge. You can see Sixer going for some long-range one-taps with the USP. Maybe if he hits a headshot, he might get a little bit lucky, but it doesn't look like there's going to be anything too crazy. And in fact, the extra armor that was in the hands of Happy will be removed as well. However, the more important factor, we will see the rifle saved.
So we are going to see the full buy come back in full force for ENVYUS, including the AWP into the hands of Kenny Essen. Well, let's see what they can deliver, because they found themselves being knocked down, but almost rather ironically, we're looking to see if they can get back up again and really just strike back into the hearts of alternate attacks, because we've seen a couple of nice rounds now from this D side.
Crispy had a spawn. Sorry to interrupt you, but he had a good spawn. Doesn't land the shot. We'll actually switch back over with Keeve. So I always like those sort of timing hits. If he managed to take the shot, that would have been great. But misses, and it is going to be back into the hands of Keeve once again.
I'm looking to see what he can deliver with that AWP. It was actually rather surprising they tried to utilize that spawn. It's not something they tend to be doing too common, so I like the idea. Missing the shot is almost just an unfortunate factor about things. It will actually be Kenny to not miss an Apex to follow up with a quick second on towards the enemy of Crispy. A lot of damage to be done on this French side so far, and looking to see if KZY can stand as Kenny is still just repeaking after repeat and just being so confident with this AWP at this point. It's at least just 2 men left standing for this T side, and well, crumbling him out. And well, you look at where that bomb is positioned. KZY, I hope you like the A site. But it's going to be an A site without no bombs. It's well and truly stuck towards the tips of mid, and you look at the position of Sixer and go, well, it's pretty much going to be locked down as KZY will at least find the frag on towards Apex. A second on towards Happy as well, as the CT side seemingly just pushing on towards the site, even though they know full well where that bomb is positioned. And this is rather shocking for ENVYUS, because it feels like almost just a subtle mistake to keep on pushing, even though they know that the A site is effectively useless up until the bomb will arrive, at which point now it will, and ENVYUS, they have to retake in a much harder scenario.
Yeah, actually managing to bring this back to a potential position. Kenny still has long control and will be going aggressive, looking to try and take the peaks. MBK, however, is smoked out of the site at the moment. Well, it is just going to be Kenny pushing in all the time. It doesn't actually give him any information about his opposition's position. And, well, Kenny, he's still just sort of waiting around this spot to hope that MBK will come in. And there's MBK, pounces Tizzy and will burn one. But it's MBK again to clutch things out for his team. Should be able to retrieve an AWP as well, which will just make things a little bit better for his team's economy. And while alternate attacks, I have to wonder how their money's going to be doing now. They did manage to buy an AWP in the last round to get one back on the board. I think they have a little bit of money saved up, and in fact, yeah, they will be able to get a buyback, so it's not too much of a problem just yet. And hey, you never know, if alternate attacks can win this round. You look at the CT money, they're going to be the ones taking the hit.
Envy can't be taking likely how many rounds MBK has clutched out for them at this point, especially that round, because that was their round to lose, and they nearly threw it all away just on the basis of what felt like being greedy for frags. There just didn't really seem to be a clear, coherent thought process behind what they were employing. At least MBK did clutch it out, so that certainly is going to be the lifeline, but how far is he willing to go? Because it seems like he may have to do just a little bit more. Of course, we are setting an 8-3 scoreline, looking to see alternate attacks in this regard, because they've got themselves those 4 rifles. They have got the AWP into the hands of Keevan. It's a fairly balanced buy, and they have all the utility and such. The CT side have already expended a good chunk as well, and you can argue the limiting factor of having Sixer on a UMP and Happy on the kind of lesser form of the rifle being the FAMAS. But in the same regard, Kenny S going to kick things off with the AWP and seemingly just being able to find these picks practically every round.
Yeah, no, Kenny has definitely been one of the most prominent factors so far in the server, as well as MBK. Nice little flick, fade away. That will leave a 2-man disadvantage now for the T side. This is looking much better. Nice flash will come out, and Apex is almost managing to take one with him, but it will be the kill coming in. And this is the drop down. This is a very common position, and Crispy is aware. He takes out Kenny back to a 3 versus 3, so the initial work done by Kenny quickly fades away. Happy up close, playing in the smoke. Gonna try do something, makes his way through, goes for the spray, finds one, and quickly fades back into the abyss. Will burn down a little bit, and 2 players pushing from short will make things a little bit more difficult. Keeve, he needs to start connecting these shots. There's the first, looking for a little bit more. The flashbang will come. Of course, this man is going to win the clutch. How many is that now? That must be 4.
I think it's 4. It's insanity at this point. ENVYUS are pretty much on his back. Like, he is just...
Yeah, no, the amount of impactful kills.
It might not be, even when you look at the scoreboard, and it might not reflect straight up on the scoreboard, but if you whip up the stats in regards to 1 versus 3s and such, it will clear-cut reflection, I say, because
1v2s as well, yeah.
He's
so
just been
clutches.
consistently closing out these rounds for his team, even in scenarios where his teammates have made mistakes. He's there to save the day, and that is just so valuable in this sort of matchup because it is a BO1 group match. They want to get through, and they want to do it nice and easily, and so far, so good. Apex is being ever so confident with this SMG. Finds 2 for his troubles. Crispy and Keeve will respond with one of their own, but Kenny has now to pick away with this AWP, and he's almost playing it like a bit of a toothpick, to be frank. He's just there, being a pain, and just repeaking after repeat. Finds himself the second. Gonna go for the third. Lands the shot. Whips out the USB. Won't quite be able to connect it, but he's done enough damage.
Yeah, the bomb over towards long. It's going to make things a little bit difficult. CT side don't seem too aware of its position at the moment, but they are going to go rotating back around. MBK will almost definitely run into the bomb, and this is going to make things a lot more difficult for KZ in terms of his ability to actually win this round. MBK holding the angle, literally needs to connect 1 bullet. That will be enough for him to win the round, and there you go. Takes down his opposition. And, well, in terms of, like you're saying, them getting through, it's actually quite important to get through him first, because the first teams in all the groups automatically qualify for the final 8. Now the second and third, they will all get mixed up again, so second and third, or the seconds will play all the thirds, and then the winners of those games will go through. So even if you finish second in the groups, you are not safe. You still have to play extra games to try and get yourself
into a cut-through format, into
the next, well, into the round of 8. So yeah, finishing top of the group is all the more valuable in this setup, and well, despite not a particularly good one. I genuinely, another stat that I want to get is how many kills Apex has actually got with the MP9, because it's starting to get a little bit ridiculous, making so much money for his team. Happy looking to push onto short. Has to be a little bit careful. Searson will go aggressive and gets a little bit lucky with that one. Manages to get the kill overall. Now the push comes in from KZ onto the B side. It will be another frag to add to the collection, but MBK, he's just spraying away. Doesn't get the final frag, and, well, maybe that MP9 won't matter after all. It doesn't look like Kenny may even need the help, as he will just walk in and clean up the kills.
Yeah, at that point, there was so much damage to be dished out to those 2 men left standing that they just didn't have the HP to try and clutch out 2 versus 2. They needed back-to-back headshots, and, well, unfortunately for them, the ults were not quite stacked enough either. And, well, now we are looking at a very bleak and disappointing first half. It's 11-3. Arguably about to potentially hit 12-3 if Ultimate Attacks can't wake up towards the end of this one. And that is, it's going to be pretty tough on Dust2, because as much as it is a 50-50 map, I would argue that Dust2 has a factor in regards to momentum. And
well, I think any game that ends up being 50-50 and goes 12-3 can definitely have factors in terms of momentum. Nice kills coming in from MBK, cleaning things up. But it will still be a bomb plant available already, though. A quick rotation coming out from Happy. Will be in for the flank. They've got Kenny holding the doors as well, although the likelihood of anybody actually going across is slim. And, well, ooh, did Crispy, I don't think he spotted him. I think this is going to be clear for Apex to just walk straight back, and he stops the bomb plant and gets the second headshot as well. Envy, oh, that's pretty much the epitome of it, isn't it?
That says 1,000 words. We can literally just leave a silent pause here, and it really just kind of sums up how brutal this half has been. Only 3 rounds to be found in total from Ultimate Attacks, and they were all found in a back-to-back succession. I
do have to say, I think that the scoreline is a little bit misleading, because you think about the amount of clutches that have actually been won, 1v1s, 1v2s, whatever it is, by MBK. I still think it's about 4 rounds. Any of those sort of switch around, we could have a completely different
we could be looking at 11-4 or 10-5. The problem is, and as much as I love that point because it proves that all attacks aren't necessarily just getting completely walked over, MBK is still winning the clutches. And
yeah, no, of course. Now that's a skill in itself.
Playing unstoppable. We were looking at Sixer, for example, who... Sixer is... he's not necessarily having a bad game. He's being very much a support player. But you look at him and go, okay, he's on 5 frags. You compare that to MBK, who's sitting 17 right now. There is a very rapid difference in terms of impact he made. Of course, I do think that Sixer is playing the support role, so nothing against him per se. But at the same time, you have to look towards MBK and just be, well, almost be astounded by just the level of play that he's bringing to the table currently. Just seemingly able to almost just isolate members of the CT side. And He painted a pretty difficult one.
Nice little shield
Tap on
stack
away.
towards the back of the site. I like it. KZ is actually going to be the one getting all of the frags. Got a little bit of help from his friend Keeve. And well, he will be re-peaking the same player again and again and again. You don't get any different results, do you now, ENVYUS? That's going to be a nice, easy pistol round overall. Maybe a confidence booster for the CT side, but they still have a long, long way to go. And I'm not going to be surprised to see MV force back into this one to try and fight it back.
Yeah, I think that's going to be almost fairly common knowledge at this point, as they just invest all of those dollars into those Tech 9s and such. And I'm going to be intrigued to see if Apex goes for the SMG route again, because that was such a pivotal point in terms of that first half, just how many frags he was finding with an SMG and just refusing for a rifle. That certainly will be a bit entertaining, as MBK is going to rattle off a couple with this Deagle, but he only managed to find the tags, which seems to be a bit of a common trend with the Deagle, but it's not quite frags, which is, well, ideally what they were looking for. Is right now they need stopping power, they need distance, and, well, they just can't quite gain it.
Yeah, we are going to see the first frag going the way of the CT side. Of course, any UK fans out there will be happy to know that we're actually winning 10-5. Go UK, DD. Belgium, nah, UK better, of course. We'll see the push come in, though. The drop down, Kenny finds himself that first frag of the round. Push will be coming in, but it's quickly traded out, leaving just 2 players left. Switching over to the D, it will be Key finding the headshot onto Happy, and that leaves just 1 left. Well, it's actually Apex, but Happy falls anyway. And relatively clean round, losing 1 player. No real opportunity for a buyback for ENVYUS in this round, so alternate attacks will live another day.
There's another opportunity for them to keep building up these rounds, and you do have to argue, as much as we haven't really seen a response from ENVYUS yet and all, in terms of whether this comeback is going to be credible, the more rounds that all attacks find, the better, frankly put. That's exactly what they need to be kind of bringing to the table, and the fact that ENVYUS, at least for now, are perched on 12, that does give some room for mistakes, which means that it's not, you know, as much pressure as you would originally expect when you're kind of playing for overtime in a 15-3, for example, or something along those sort of scorelines. Of course, in terms of the round, that is just these SMGs looking to farm up on these blocks. But MBK manages to find a frag.
The first kill is actually going to come in for the T side. They've managed 2 kills. This round is starting to become a little bit glocking, and well, it's just unbelievable that they're able to do this much damage with so very little. He will switch over the rifle and the SMG to his buddy, and well, this leaves just Tizzy and Crispy to try and fight this one back. A bomb plant is more than should be available for Envy, but the fact that they've now got it into a position where they could win the round is a very scary prospect for alternate attacks. So saying that the rounds are close, this is a round that should not be close.
By all means, this is just insanity being brought to the table at this point by the CT side. Some huge blunders have led them up to this point, and well, now can they bring things back into the favor as Apex will claim the life of Crispy, and it leaves all on towards Tizzy, and 1 man, Afamus, up against 3, and well, he's just going to miss the shots. Apex will knock him down a peg with that M4, and ENVYUS, they walk away with 3 rifles, a bomb plant, and most importantly, around. We were just talking about if the comeback was going to be credible. Well, Karma comes back in 1 fell swoop, and well, counts us off before we can even get to the end of the round.
That round was absolutely god-awful. To lose to straight Glocks like that is absolutely unbelievable, and that is just going to be, well, a kick in the groin in terms of confidence boosters. Like, that is just horrific. They do have to try and bounce back into this round, however. CZ, a UMP, and a couple of M4s to go with the AWP of Kiev. And on the other side, well, they got the 3 rifles that they managed to pick up in the last round, along with a couple they bought themselves.
And it's all about for them doing as much damage as they possibly can, while also trying to claw back the siege from mistakes that they previously sowed in the round before. But for now, it is going to be a bit of a slow starter. ENVYUS are just going to be gaining some traction across the map, and will at least face off once against Kiev, who does miss the initial shot, forcing him to fall back over towards now the backer corners of that A site. In terms of rotations from alternate attacks, they really aren't doing too much. They're very much sitting towards mid, and well, Happy will make it work with a quick pick. Will get traded out by Searson, the second player, to hold off that fortress, but Kiev, he needs to step up huge. He finds the first, now looking for the second, has to re-peek here, but he's just unable to land the secondary shot. Trying to land the third through the boxes, but it's just not quite landing, and they've got themselves on towards the site. Kiev missing another shot. He needs to land these, but Kenny has just given free roam with this rifle. Apex to find another run towards Searson. KZY will respond with at least 1 at minimum, bringing it back to a 2 versus 2. But now Crispy trying to do some AWP magic of his own, and he's missing the shots too, and well, this is just getting awkward at this point.
Yeah, back to the 1v1 at least. KZ versus Kenny. The K's fighting it off, and well, Kenny is just ducking and weaving until he finishes off his prey. I think I have to quote football. in this sort of circumstance, and I just genuinely say it was actually easier to hit the shot. It was harder to miss. The amount of people that were just swerving in with each other, and somehow he managed to wiggle the bullet through all of them. It almost seemed unbelievable, and it's definitely not looking like his match, to say the least. They are going to force back into this one. They know that they have at least hurt the economy of their opposition, but the problem is they have not got any economy of their own. Getting trounced, Kenny going to add another double kill to his list of frags, starting to get to quite a high tally at the moment. And while we look towards the remaining players, and it's looking all but done at the moment.
Yeah, I think at this point it's just sheer brutality. Somebody call the police or something, because all attacks, they are just being completely trounced. They've got $2,550 max, and well, that's only on Tizian. For the most part, it is a very, very bleak financial standpoint. Well, let's see what they bring to the table. They've opted for a scout, 3 pistols, and a UMP. I'm not quite sure I can hold my hopes too high on this one. I do think there is certainly an ability, but in the same regard, NES already can open things up. MBK to find himself a second. Looking now for the third. Crispy will respond with at least 1 at minimum. Oh, can he play for the maximum, as he still wants to find just a little bit more? But Apex going to catch him off guard. Citizen will find a quick frag, or with the 5-7 though, so he does spam on away and go for a bit more of an aggressive push through tunnels. So traction to be gained, but the key player to keep an eye on is going to be KZY, because he at minimum has to find 1 frag, and there really is a standpoint just to stress that phrase of minimum right now, because if that isn't found, the round's done.
Yeah, no, they really are right on the edge at the moment. He sprays away, gets that one, and well, Sixer on the site. More looking towards Kenny on long, but it will be Sixer to do the damage. The bomb planted for the man himself, and while Searson, he's got to try and bring this one back from the depths. I think he has spotted out Sixer. Will get the chance to tap away, but Sixer doesn't really have a reason to peek. Goes for the fake flash with the pistol, buying a lot of time. Will eventually lose his life, and while it's a 10-second defuse, I think you're being a little bit hopeful there, bud. Kenny is going to finish things off, and well, an absolutely dominating performance in the end. Some closer rounds in the first half, but that one was just towards the end, I want to say disappointing, because I was really